Welcome back trackside. As expected this morning during qualifying, anyone that was looking at the magnificent display of show cars around the track and back in the pit and paddock area, as soon as the oral tone of these cars came on track, people marched their way up over the fence, and I just watched everyone do exactly the same thing. It is certainly something that did light up the Australian motorsport scene when these sorts of touring cars started to play out there, and certainly the early era, as we call them, V8 supercars, as opposed to the current era of just supercars. Those cars do attract great attention. Brett Florence has jumped on board with me again for this one. Touring Car Legends and 5-litre Touring Cars Super Sprint. So it says it all in the title, as far as I'm concerned. It's a sprint. So we're not actually having a lights to flag race, but it's who's going to get the best lap time will be the winner of this event.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. So, yeah, we've got some great cars out here and, excuse me, and some different stuff as well. They're all legends of in their own right, these different cars. So,
hey, I'll tell you what, there's a legend, Eddie Dobbs, hey?
Exactly, mate.
In that out there, what an absolute legend of certainly a Victorian motorsport. That is awesome to see Eddie mixing it up. He's going to get some paint torn off the side of his car, I would suggest, in this session, though.
Yeah, that FE's been around for a long, long time. Who would have thought?
Yeah, terrific to see. Darren Knight's also jumped back in here. He's got a big smile on his face, so note the day. DK smiling here at the Winton Festival of Speed as he's keen to talk about what we're about to see take place on the screens as well.
G'day folks, we mentioned Eddie Dobbs in the famous ex-Graham Blanchard FE Holden, the bright blue machine. That car, I think it's still for sale, folks. Dobbsy's pretty much hung up the competitive helmet, but that car has been a race car its whole life. It's never been a road car. So originally built, as I mentioned, and run by Graham Blanchard back in the 50s.
Sure
there he's on screen right now, the number 27 FE Holden.
I remember Brendan, someone was another guy that ran a red one of those, and they experimented for years shimming the spark plugs with copper shims so that the electrode was pointing in the right direction and it was half a horsepower on the down on the head flow sort of thing. So
all counts we've got a little grey motor on it.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Well, I mean, we all know how to make a grey motor go fast. Use methanol, but weren't allowed to, eh?
No.
Yeah, so this is terrific, Brett, throwing this together. I mean, I guess we sort of hark back to what you and I were talking about a little bit earlier. If you build it, they will come. Give these people these cars, give them a place to put them on a racetrack, and they will.
Yeah, absolutely. And all these guys with these cars, they're not racing. They just want to come out, have some fun, but they're sitting in sheds. So our whole purpose was, let's just grow this and get more and more of these guys back at it. Back out of sheds, back on the track, and there's some cool cars. The Mustang that's running out there, that's I've been told that was the first 69 Mustang ever to run in Group N, and it's been fully restored. Graham Hunt owns it now. It was his car back in the day. You've got Dennis O'Brien, who's running around in that 64 Galaxy. It's a Holman Moody Galaxy. Like, how many of those are, in the world starting, and then here we have it's running around on the track, and it's a tough thing. 427 dual quad. It's unbelievable.
And built from parts supplied by none other than Harry Firth.
Yeah, and Len Lukey.
Yeah, and Dennis O'Brien was looking to build a Galaxy in the early days of, it was called Appendix J and then became Group N, wanted to run a Galaxy. Harry Firth was great friends with Len Lukey, the late Len Lukey, and secured some parts. Dennis bought a body shell and put the car together. Ran in the early days of Appendix J or Group N back in the early 80s. Not quite Group N spec these days, a little more freedoms back in those days. And here they are on screen now with the Graham Hunt Mustang behind the Galaxy. That's Steve Trevica driving the Galaxy, the former BNT Touring Car Series race driver, and Dennis O'Brien is driving the Graham Hunt Mustang.
Gee, I tell you what, they still haven't fixed that pinion seal leak on the Galaxy, have they? That's kept the back end of that car rust-free for many, many years. Just synonymous with that sort of era of car that when you really got your oil heated up, it expanded all the components and was pretty hard to seal up here. Interesting one there, Brett, that car number 1. I think, no, number 3, with young Tabitha Ambrose at the wheel, a name we know. And I'm going to say it's not Rowan Ambrose who held the lap record here in club cars in his RX-7 all through the 90s and early 2000s. It's not his son Cadell, who's going to be joining us a little bit later, who's currently running full-spec John Gourlay Audi in the Australian Sports Sedan Championship. It's Australian Touring Car Champion Marcus Ambrose's daughter.
Two-time.
Yeah, 2-time in the Stone Brothers Racing outfit there. So it's second generation Ambrose Racing, and really cool. Had a chat at dinner just briefly because I got myself a little bit confused, and I sort of fancied myself as a bit of a Holden man, and I went, hang on a minute, they're calling this an A9X and it's a 4-door. Marcus got out the old AI, he's pretty good at that, and looked it up, and he said, oh yeah, look, he goes, I think, you think of the Brock cars and the Grice cars, they're all hatchbacks. And he went, I don't know about this, and
he just needed to find a nerd. There's plenty of nerds here.
Marcus and I had learned something last night where Tabitha just sort of looked at us and went, it doesn't have power steering, it's really hard.
Yes, the 4-door A9X, that was the predecessor to the hatchbacks. They built the 4 doors first, and they were several of them were built obviously into Group C touring cars, and then of course the more glamorous hatchback then took over. So Tabitha is driving the ex-Warren Cullen 4-door A9X. Warren, of course, just down the road, ran a very successful Wreckers in Settlement Road, so very much a local. And that was the car that Warren ran at Sandown in 1977. Would have been the Hang 10 400 probably 10 in those days. And that car then became the T car, or the spare car for Bathurst in 1977.
Yeah, and it's great that we've got Tabitha here. Like, it's, supporting her, and she's become a VHRR junior member, which is brilliant as a result of this. So we're hoping to try and get Tabitha to more of our events, and she can experience, what it's really like, in cars of the yesteryear, really.
Started out in XLs, now moved on to state level Formula Ford this year, and now driving something that's not going to turn and brake as well as a little Formula Ford, boys.
No, that's exactly right.
It'll give her. It'll start to give her the feel of some horsepower, though. That is certainly where it is. You can see certainly where Marcus is landing his business these days. She's probably going to slide into a Trans Am car at some point, or a TA2 car, for all whatever the different naming nomenclature for those cars are. Here's something awesome. This car blew me away at the Bathurst 12 Hour when it was run, as it was rolled out. And the reason I liked that was that I drove myself around in a V8 Calais wagon for a while, and I thought I'm getting pretty racy with it here, guys. And there it is. What a car, a works entry that the Kellys drove, and bring it out on track. Let's see it. Someone's got it. Let's get it out there.
Yeah, and that's owned by David Hulk, actually, and it's a tough sounding car when you're up against it. So it's really impressive. And interestingly, his wife Rebecca's running around in the little Ford Laser. So 2 production cars, and this is an area that we would like to explore. Guys that have got production cars, if they're listening, and of that era, the Bathurst 12 Hour type production cars of that sort of
before
era.
The GT3 era came in.
So it's something that we're really keen to explore, and in the same principle as this, get some of those cars out on the track, and there's some unbelievable cars in that era.
Kane Fitzgerald we're having a look at here, for all intents and purposes, one of the local entries, just sailed down from Albury out of the Jones boys shed. Of course, when Kim and Brad were running that business these days, Brad, the sole proprietor up there at Brad Jones Racing, still current spec championship team, but this Aussie male car was quite famous. I remember one of these didn't have a great run with the Adelaide
this is the
Parkland circuit. This is the one, is it?
Yeah, it's the one.
You'll see the red arrows that are painted on the side of the car, and they appeared after that infamous Clipsal rollover. This way up.
Exactly, yeah. It's if this is pointing that way, point it that way. But there you go. That car's had some rework done over the years, but again, and a car that is very, very well known. Talking about well known and 12-hour races in Bathurst, this car, the likes of Dick Johnson and John Bow, but prior to them, the guys that actually worked hard to get this thing competitive was the Yuldens, and Chris Muscat and the guys at Centerline Suspension did such a brilliant job setting this car up. It was another one of those Kent Yulden cars out the side door of the Skunk Works there at Ford Motor Company, and Brett, of course, who was a younger brother of Kent, and they did such a great job with that laser, and it's been returned to one of those liveries that it did the 12-hour in. But I remember that the laser, the Amazer, and again, Brett, the car looking for somewhere to race.
That's right, exactly.
It can't. In some of the stricter senses, it can't run as an improved production car because it has roll cage through to the engine bay, little different things like that, which I understand when you've got 40 other cars complying to a rule set, you can't just come swanning in. But those cars are out there, and look at it, you give it a beautiful sunny day here at Winton, and these cars ran in those early Winton 300s, the Group E spec type of, and they had 49 cars running here from all over the country. Wow, that's cool, isn't it, watching the
Dennis O'Brien in the Graham Hunt Mustang. You mentioned, Brett, one of the real early Group NC cars. NC became a category in 1995 in the historic scene. That was the first fastback, as you mentioned, Brett, built for NC. Caused all sorts of controversy when it was presented for a logbook. There was a bit of legal threats going back and forth, and it was magnificently built car. Actually, it was built with onboard jacks, which had to be removed to be eligible for historic. So it's a very controversial car, but a very quick car at the time.
How cool is it that Tabitha's running the car in the T number?
That's T for Bathurst in 77.
It sat in the shed with the T car number on it.
T for Tabitha this week.
That's right. Exactly right.
That's good pickup, DK. I like it.
Occasionally it happens. Of course, back in the late 70s, teams used to often have a spare car. Even if they had a two-car team, there'd be another spare that was the T car that was used to give especially co-drivers some extra mileage, some extra practice during the Bathurst week without wearing out, I guess, the components of their race car. So T cars quite popular in the late 70s.
Peter Aboud is the one that's leading this super sprint. Let's bring it back to the here and the now, and he's done a terrific job, a 136.34, nice lap there. Then we've got the 51 of Josh Buchan, who has done some laps around here in a TCR car in recent times. Josh has jumped on board the VF, the Commodore there, the 2014 entry. He's done a 135. Then we've got car number 6, which I'm not too sure who is driving car number 6, but we'll get back to that. Then it is the number 19 of Jacob Curry, the Ford Falcon, the 5-litre touring car there as well, so from the supercar era. The 21 car of Kane Fitzgerald, the AU Falcon in the Aussie male livery, currently sitting there in 5th place. The car number 66 of Andrew Cook, the yellow, red and blue car, which I think that's that car right there. We're looking at
better electrical car
right now. That car currently on track in 6th place in this super sprint. And car number 85, David Hulk, that aforementioned R8 sports wagon. So some decent bits of equipment, good lap times, 130.12 now to Josh Buchan. Probably fully expected to see Josh start to push a little bit harder towards the end of this session, as we see the ex-Graham Hunt car just disappearing off into the dirt there and spraying it up. Driving it very, very nicely though, pushing hard in the number 69, currently sitting down there in 8th place for Dennis O'Brien. Not too sure what was being held out at the start-finish line there. A yellow board, might be last lap actually, just looking at the time.
And this the VF supercar here, that's Peter Zibris in the famous Jamie Whincup Paul Dumbrell car that ran out of fuel at Bathurst in 2014.
Led the half of the last lap.
Yeah, exactly.
Jack, can you hear us?
He could hear him.
Radio check.
Yes.
Famous moment right there.
It's
there
more, You know, and Peter was telling me yesterday, you know, it's the third most winning chassis, I think, in supercar history, and Jamie's, you know, won multiple championships in it, but it's more famous for the running out of fuel than what it is anything else.
Well, you know, like it is, you know, they're kidding themselves that world if they think the championship matters over the 1,000.
Yeah.
You know, the one everyone remembers the bit of the 1,000.
You know, and that the car that just went past then, the Future Tourer, you know, that's a category that started and it's long gone, and you know it's a Brock Team Brock car in the Bianchi Future Tourer there.
James Brock, of course, took the win. The Future Tourer, a proposed category that supported the Bob Jane Bathurst 99 meeting for Super Tourers, the two-litre Super Tourers. Future Tourers didn't quite catch on, but James Brock, a superb drive in shocking conditions.
And that the winning car is actually sitting in the museum here this weekend. This car, I believe, is the sister car that was built after that car, and the winning car was built out of an Oscar.
Just interesting enough, guys, just while we were talking about the Future Tourer there, that awesome Adam Jones Datsun 240K was on screen. He's given that an absolute pedal out there, just moving it around. 240K, straight six, that venerable Nissan engine, though I think it was in production for 20 years.
Absolutely.
And just sounded fantastic. It's sort of got that flat six-cylinder drone to it. There goes Tabitha Ambrose, making her way back to the pits. The car of Tabitha just going back, just trying to find where the T car is. So she did a time of a 1:43 mid-pack, eighth so inside
overall.
the top 10. So that's a good run. A young lady, I hate to sound like it's a little bit cliche, but a young lady in a hurry. She's certainly pushing her motorsport agenda and trying to do it very well. I'd say Dad has got the hand on the reins and making sure the right choices and the right directions are being done. And right now, getting your backside into a race car nearly every weekend is probably a good plan.
An actual a third generation Ambrose racer, because Marcus's dad, of course, was very quick on the Apple Isle at Cortina at whenever the Touring Car Championship wound it up at Simmons Plains.
And certainly in Formula Ford, in that Van Diemen company as well, was Marcus's dad had a lot to do along the way there. So, terrific to see that. Really good, Brett, that you were able to, I guess, find a spot for Tabitha to come here this weekend.
It was, we put the feelers out, and a good mate of mine, Craig Baring, who's here today to watch, and he said, put her in my car. Let's have a go. So, and VHRR has got behind Tabitha, as I said, as a junior. So, we can hope to help her. So, let's get behind her.
A fantastic initiative, because not everyone necessarily with a car like that wants to get involved in the cut and thrust of actual racing. So as Darren said, it really gives these people a platform to run their cars, give it a bit of curry, so get into it, but not into the potentially panel damaging full-on racing. It's certainly an event we used to see at the Muscle Car Masters at Sydney Motorsport Park in years gone by, and it sort of dropped off the radar, unfortunately, but it's great to see it back here this weekend, and hopefully that continues.
Yeah, that's our plan, and with our good sponsors, this can only grow, and it's an area that we want to see. And like I said earlier, guys with production cars from that Bathurst 12-hour era, or the old Nations Cup, all that sort of stuff, we'd love to get those guys back out and putting on a display for the crowds, because there's some cool cars that ran in those days.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for bringing all of the good oil, the good information in behind that category we've just seen leaving the track there. Touring Car Legends and 5-litre Touring Cars Sprint, and we've got them back on track, of course, twice again tomorrow. So if you've enjoyed it today and you've been watching on our live stream, make your way to the track tomorrow. It's going to be a full-on day. Seriously, the first race starts at 8:30 and finishes at 5:30, so the day won't be done until 6 o'clock. Give it your attention. We've got a small field of J, K and L cars just about to head out on track. We'll take a quick break. Greg Smith will join me in commentary in just a few moments. I'm Darren Smith, and been joined by Brett Florence now. Welcome to the Winton Festival of Speed. If you've just joined us on the YouTube live stream via V8 Sleuth, or indeed made it into the track, and with the increasing cars rolling through the gate, it's every minute we've got to welcome another 10 or 20 patrons to the track here. So thank you everybody for joining us trackside here, and I've got to say it is the only way to go motor racing at the track. The live streaming is fantastic. You know, there's always a reason why you can't get to the track, and all credit to the VHRR for putting this out there. It's one of those, I guess, all-inclusive type policies that you can bring it to the people, and this is the advent of this particular category on track now. It's not a race as such, but it is a sprint. So we are putting a stopwatch on each one of these cars. Do we use stopwatches anymore, Brett, or with someone's got a computer hitting a button
there's a live
somewhere?
timing somewhere.
doing the technology thing. But that's what's good about this is it's bringing cars out here, and I think we might start with that Galaxy with that massive bonnet scoop as it makes its way around to head to the let's call it the stopwatch or the computer program, whatever it might be, as they hit the strike the first time. But this is about 15 minutes of track time for some really cool cars, that real race cars out there to get some laps out there, and even better for those of us race fans, enthusiasts alike, to see some of these race cars. And well, we head into turn one with this car here, Brett, and introducing it as the Jamie Whincup car that could have
won Bathurst, but it didn't. It ran out of fuel. And talking to Pete Shibberis yesterday, he was saying it's the third most winningest chassis in supercar history, with Jamie Whincup and 888. So famously run out of fuel with Paul Dumbrell and Jamie at the wheel on the last lap.
Third winningest chassis in the supercar era, yet we remember it for running out of fuel.
Yeah, the only thing it's ever done.
Yeah, how many races it run over years, but fantastic to see this car number one out there on track. Josh Buchan is giving it a bit of a run here, and he'll be enjoying that. Josh, of course, top flight racer, touring car racer, TCR racer, albeit that they've had quite a few events cancelled in recent months, but it doesn't deny the talent of the guy that's wheeling that car.
Absolutely.
Tabitha Ambrose was another one we got out there yesterday, and I rattled off all the Ambroses that I knew through motor racing history, and arrived at Marcus Ambrose's daughter. We won't play that game again, but certainly really cool to see that. Darren Knight has also joined us on the broadcast. Daz, I know you hark back with fond memories right throughout all of these cars, right back to the Galaxy that we've got out on track as well.
Excuse me, I wasn't born when the Galaxy was built, thank you. Not far off, mind you.
You've enjoyed its exploits, though, that's for sure.
That's right. And I mean, where would you see a Holman and Moody Galaxy, 64 Galaxy in this country out here? You know, genuine side oiler, 427, dual quad carb. Like, it's a tough car, and the guy driving it, or owns it, drives it, Dennis O'Brien, he's not shy in giving it some stick.
Sorry, Brett, Dennis is actually in the Mustang in this session. Dennis owns the Galaxy.
Yeah, that's
as
right.
You mentioned, Steve Trevica, a former Group N racer with the Mustang. He's driving the Galaxy, and Dennis O'Brien is at the wheel of the Graham Hunt 69 Ford Fastback Mustang, the Group N car, the first Group NC car, as you mentioned yesterday, built in 95. Magnificent machine that is.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, you scale back to the factory entered Ford Laser, you know, Bathurst 6-hour, 12-hour car, and how cool is that? You know, you've got Rebecca Drummond running around in that car, and she's doing a fabulous job, you know. And look at the names on the side of that: Brett Youlden, Kent Youlden, you know, fabulous names. So,
Dick Johnson. Yeah, those guys drove it. Yeah, certainly weighing in on a couple of those Victorian races that were great at. The guys at Centerline Suspension that really did set that car up for its success at the Bathurst 12-hour, etc.
Kent Youlden, unfortunately, we lost him a couple of years ago, the Bear, as he was nicknamed. He really was a front runner in production car racing, and his day job, was a Ford engineer. So that's how he managed to get the Ford body shell, the Laser, the TX3 four-wheel drive turbocharged machine, and shared the driving duties with Brett Youlden, his brother.
Keep your eyes out on Speed Cafe in the next couple of weeks, Daz. We had a good chat with young Luke Youlden and on the Grassroots Racing podcast, and we had to take a pause for a minute when we mentioned Kent and winning Bathurst with Luke. It was it's dear to his heart. His dad was a racer, his uncle's a racer, and Luke had to gather his thoughts when we started talking about his dad, and he said there's no one smoother, and something I didn't know. I know the Yulden family quite well. I didn't know that Kent had done some rallying, and he said, that's what Luke said. He goes, that's why Dad was so smooth. He came off the dirt to the bitumen.
Well, you can't muck around on the gravel, otherwise you end up sideways into a tree.
Oh no!
Steve Trevica looks like he's had an excursion in the big Galaxy, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Try and pick up where that is. He's trying to get it out of harm's way. We have gone red flag at this point. Not too sure where he's gone.
Oh, he's over here on the back straight.
He is too. He's gone straight on down there and put it in sideways, and it looks like it's still able to roll on. That's not something you want to be bringing back to the pit lane and explaining to the guy that owns it
exactly
what's just happened. But if the pedals go onto the floor, then you're a passenger at that point. And as Phil Membry alluded to very early in the broadcast today, once you get on the green accelerator, it just picks up and drifts to wherever it ends up at there. So red flag, and this is a very short, sharp session. So I would suggest we just get that car back on track, and he'll motor around, and we will see the cars push back out of pit lane pretty quickly.
Even though the sun is shining here at Winton, that grass is still quite dewy this morning, so unfortunately Steve looks like he's been a passenger there, and as you mentioned, Phil's term green accelerator, that's probably exactly what happened. Could not wash off the speed, and of course you're carrying a fair bit of momentum, Brett, with that massive 17-foot long Galaxy.
Yeah, it's mobile, and you can just see, it's got fiberglass guards and aluminium bonnet and all of that, so you can actually see it where it's on this side now. Those panels where they're all cracked there.
Something which was pretty cool that Mark Walker and Aaron Noonan touched on in their podcast leading into this weekend was back in the day at Eastern Creek. They did a bit of a funny thing to camera where Noons got in the boot of that car and started talking and popped the boot open. And Noons he's a big unit, and 6'2", 6'3" sort of thing. He's probably a skinny little kid back then, but he was still a tall fella. And popped out, and there was the story. And I guess you look at the two guys that did that, Nathan Prendergast and Aaron Noonan. Prendergast is now in charge of Supercars Media, and Noonan has his own media empire on the go. Now, Brett, of course, last night, which I'm pretty sure we might have started something you're going to have to keep doing, was Aaron Noonan, the V8 sleuth himself, conducted a night here at the track with 250 of motorsport's best fans, braving the cold night air here at Winton and down in the VIP area. Put on a great night. Yeah,
it was fantastic. We had Jeff Gretsch, who now works here at Winton as one of the managers. He was a guest speaker, Peter Shibris, and which then followed into Dennis O'Brien and Norm Beachy, Ron Harrop and Russell Stuckey. So it was a great lineup.
Just interesting looking at some of the luminaries down there at the moment, watching that car there. So just people looking on, and Milton Ferris, one of them there, the guy with the white hair, pointing around there, and he owns the ex-Harvey Moffat Rothmans VL. So people certainly interested, popping their heads out, having a bit of a look there.
Yeah, and unfortunately Milton's Rothman's car's done a head gasket, so that's why it's not out here in this this category. Being in the original engine from the period, he doesn't want to hurt it any more than just a blown head gasket. So if anyone's in the crowd who wants to go and see a true, original, unrestored VL Group A car, that's the one, and it's in the down the bottom end where all the marquees are, beautifully presented.
Milton, of course, long-time enthusiast, was collecting these cars before anyone really gave a stuff about them. Of course, running in Heritage Touring Cars as well with his ex-Peter Jansen machine. And you talk about the Rothmans VL, which is here this weekend. Come down and have a look. A genuine Holden Dealer Team built car that never raced for the Holden Dealer Team. Was built right at the time where Brock had his big bust-up with GMH. And the car was sold, unbeknownst to Peter, to Alan Moffat and John Harvey, because John was part of the Holden Deal team, left with a big breakup of Brock's team, unfortunately. But of course went on to great things with Alan Moffat. Won the first round of the World Touring Car Championship in 1987.
That's
after
right.
the first finishing 6 BMW M3s in front of them were all disqualified for a raft of illegal parts, and Moffat and Harves took the win.
And the interesting thing is, Milton pointed out the other day on Friday that the Australian flag that Brock always had on the car is still on there, but it's just been painted over when they painted the new colour scheme. So it's just fascinating. The history is still with that car.
Here's an awesome bit of kit as well, this 240K out there on track as well. And just disappearing off screen, David Holk at the wheel of the HSV R8 sports wagon. That particular car, works entry in the Bathurst 12 Hour all those years ago. For all of us that owned VE Commodore wagons, were cool all of a sudden, because there was one on the track that was a race car, and we all proudly went off to work in our Conformadors that were now race cars at the Bathurst 12 Hour. So proudly drove off with our line badge on the front.
So it was tougher than the Volvo wagon that raced in the British Touring Car Championship, was it?
No. No way. They were immense, those things. But yeah, look, it was, I guess, a car manufacturer. They're looking for a marketing edge, and they had some star drivers jump on board. The Kellys jumped on board there.
Nathan Pretty.
Yeah, Nathan Pretty, who had just come from some good success in the sports sedans in Nations Cup. Sorry, I mean those Monaros in Nations Cup.
Slid that in there nicely, referring to, of course, the Bathurst 24 Hour, the 427 Monaros did the business in Nations Cup.
Didn't they ever?
And there's a fascinating car. You look at that Red XY GT. It's a Phase 2 XW GT that raced in the day. It was crashed by Tony Roberts over the mountain, in Bathurst 71, and then Dennis purchased it, restored it, and then it was upgraded into Phase 3 specs, and that's a genuine Phase 3 raced in the day in period production racing. Where would you ever see that again on a racetrack? It's fascinating for all the enthusiasts out there.
And this is the conduit to do it. You're not going to put that out in a Group N race these days, are you?
Dennis did in the early days.
I know he did, but now you sort of look at it and you go, I've got superannuation tied up in that car there. And terrific, Alan Shearer having a bit of a drive of it here this weekend. A couple of supercars getting well and truly on with it. The ticking clock is running down, so they want to get some times in for this sprint.
Chad Parrish out there in the ex-Craig Lowndes BA Gibbs Motorsport Falcon. He's having a steer. Chad has been involved with these cars for many years. Jacob Curry out there too, next Frosty Winterbottom Falcon.
Looks great, doesn't it, this car? It's a trick livery that they did up. Caterpillar, one of the biggest companies in the world. If they're going to go racing, they're going to have a good-looking car. And when you team up with some of the legends of touring car racing here in Australia, there is again the wagon. Tabitha Ambrose, here she is in the Cullen Sampson car, the Settlement Road Wreckers, not too far from here, and really a local car. And through then, here's one we haven't touched on, the Mercedes. Again, a very special piece of kit. Those Mercs running in Group A trim internationally were very, very nice pieces of kit. Rob Lloyd there in the 190E, doing a good job there as well. Just have a look where number 5 is in the field. Only just got out there, in fact, down there in 12th at the moment. So he's looking to put a time down in the number 15 in about, well, we've had the time elapse go over, and the check flag has now dropped. So a bit of a shame there, Brett, that we had that red flag, and I guess the real shame is that the Holman and Moody Galaxy's now got a fair bit of damage down the right-hand side.
Yeah, unfortunately, but as we've all said, motorsport, these things happen. So unfortunately, but great range of cars. These cars will be back out a bit later on.
3:10 p.m. Brett. So folks, make sure you're dialed into the VH Sleuth YouTube channel to see some more historic touring car legends. If you're not already dialed in.
This is a category that we want to grow with, particularly around the production cars. We want to see if anyone out there's got a production car of that era, and Bathurst 12-hour or 6-hour cars from that period. It'd be fantastic to start getting a few more of those cars back out here and running. It's a one of the areas we want to look at growing. So
I'm going to put a shout out to the Nations Cup era cars.
Oh, how good would it be to see one
Ferraris,
of those? Yeah.
A black Diablo would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
That guy at LMCT, he's got one of those Diablos from back in the day.
I'm pretty certain Darcy Russell still has his Viper. Pretty sure.
Those cars, they're the things that we want to see coming back out. And that's part of what we're doing with this category,
Look, then there's a plethora of Fitzy and Jim Richards Porsches out there from that Nations Cup time that would be just absolutely magnificent to see here. And I know there's aficionados of historic racing out there. That's 25 years ago.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
It's not 5 years ago. It's 25 years ago.
Yep.
And that's where we see it. If you look at World Historics, the FIA moved it right up to the year 2000. So, they're right in that group.
It's a bit like that Blink 182 song, What's My Age Again? It is that long ago now.
I like your reference. Hey, we've got Brett here, Daz. We're talking about the camping area. It's a festival because we've got camping, right? So you and I came up with the concept, let's have two festivals, have a rock festival and a car festival. You named Grinspoon, you've just introduced Blink 182. Brett's the man we need to talk to, isn't he? Put on a rock concert for camping and for car racing.
Yeah, nice. Well, we might look at that.
The commentary could be a bit scratchy on my part the next morning, though. That's the only trouble.
I'll keep myself tidy, mate. I'll hold your hand. We'll do this together.
Yeah. Yep. Good idea.
There's that magnificent Falcon. They're just all making their way back to the pit and paddock area after their sprint here, and that sees the Touring Car Legends 5-litre Touring Car Sprint done and dusted. Historic Sports Sedan Sprint will be out on track next, and guys, I won't shy away from it. They are the big bangers. They are the gods of thunder of Australian motorsport. Nowhere else in the world do they do sports sedans, and when we do it here, we do it well. And there's a huge field of historic sports sedans about to greet us on track.
Yeah, there's some fantastic cars.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. The Touring Car Legends and 5-litre Touring Car Sprint is back on track later on today. A quick break, and we will have sports sedans out on track. Cars on track now for the last time the Touring Car Legends and 5-litre Touring Car Sprint out on track. And as I alluded to before we went to the break, I'm going to say a friend of motorsport, a friend of all, has been shoehorned into the laser that he raced back in the day. And it's fantastic to have Brett Youlden out on track in the laser. I'm going to introduce in Brett Florence and Darren Knight for this final sprint for this category. Guys, this is going to be a lot of fun, and I've just had some good information that the eyelids were welling up on Brett Youlden down there as he was getting into the laser.
They sure were, mate.
Fantastic to see.
That is in fact the car that finished second in the inaugural Bathurst 12-hour, Brett, back there in 1991. So amazing story to see this car back out on the track.
Yeah, that's right. And, Aaron Noonan did a fantastic story on V8 Sleuth about the car, its history, and where it went and how it's here today. So that was, an awesome bit of writing by Darren. And I urge anyone that's interested in that car, have a read of it, because it's a fascinating read. And these guys, what they did back in the day with that little car, just excellent.
Well, Kent Youlden, of course, well known for his prowess at production car racing. His day job was a Ford engineer, and he went to Jack Nasser and said, how about we enter the first Bathurst 12-hour? And it was, in a way, Ford's first factory effort, if you like. out the back door since they closed up the touring car team in 1973.
That's right, exactly. You know, the Quasi's Lot 6, if you like.
Yeah, so Brett, great to have him back behind the wheel. The car, of course, he shared with his late brother, late great Kent Yulden, and of course Ken Douglas
That's
also
right,
shared
yeah.
the driving duties, and he was definitely a gun at production car racing as well.
And I mean, this is a category, like I said earlier, that we want to grow. You know, get more of these production cars out, group, you know, Nations Cup, etc. So, you know, get them out here on the track because there's some fantastic Australian history in those cars.
Certainly is. Unfortunately, we're missing the Galaxy that's owned by Dennis O'Brien. Steve Trevika driving had, unfortunately, the brake pedal went to the floor as I think Darren surmised or estimated this morning, so that car is not out there. A little bit of panel damage. Dennis is great about it. Steve was actually mortified. He was couldn't believe it. But when you've got no brakes in something that's 17 foot long,
yeah, right.
Not much choice.
No, exactly. And as Dennis, I went and saw Dennis, and he said, you know, stuff happens in motorsport.
Yep.
You can't help it, you know,
Yep.
and we all move on, and cars are repairable. So that's his attitude, which is great.
Exactly. Speaking of Dennis O'Brien, we have another O'Brien machine out there. That's his original XY Falcon, the series production machine, just going through the sweeper now. That's steered by Alan Shearer, Group N racer himself. Amazing motor car. It's a car that ended up off the side of the mountain. Tony Roberts, 1970. Dennis bought the car, rebuilt it, and continued to race it in series production.
Yeah, I was talking to Dennis about that car, and he was, you know, he said that he get a call from Howard Marsden to say, hey, look, do you need some parts? We're updating the cars, you know, and they just send a box of parts up to him, and you know, it just kept going on with its racing career. It's always been a race car from day one, and you know, Dennis has kept it, and look at it here today. Like, where would you see a genuine phase 2.5, phase 3, if you like, out here racing? You'd never see a genuine one. So you know, it's the crowd's been treated, you know, with that.
Most certainly. Peter Zibris out there too. He's none other than Tabitha Ambrose, daughter of the great Marcus Ambrose, having her first steer in something historic. She's been running state level Formula Fords this year. She's driving the ex-Warren Cullen 4-door A9X Tirana, so a local car in every sense of the word. Warren Cullen ran a very successful Wreckers down there at Settlement Road. Ron Simmons from the VHRR was telling me there's quite a few race meetings where guys would be travelling down to that Wreckers in Settlement Road to get bits for their race car mid-meeting.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, Warren actually had a wrecking yard here in Benalla, Benalla Auto Spares, back in the day. So, and I'm not sure whether he still owns it now, but he had one there, and he's still got Super F spares in Campbellfield. So,
here's the O'Brien Falcon we were telling you about, an original GDHO race car. Well, it's almost priceless, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It was parked after the end of series production in 1972, so it was never converted into a Group C machine, which were the new regulations in 1973, which we saw, of course. The Moffat car was converted to Group C, and that was running in 1973 for most of the season until the introduction of the brand new XA hardtop later in the year.
yeah, exactly. And, you know, Dennis, talking to Dennis, you know, he raced against the greats, Brock, Moffat, you know, Freddie Gibson, Barry Seaton in this car, and, you know, it survives today.
Did very well too. Held the lap record at Hume, Weir and Calder for several months too back in the day, so no mean feat for the man from Wagga.
Yeah, he said to me yesterday, he goes, we're just a couple of boys from the bush having a crack.
Yeah, great character is Dennis. Great to have him at the V8 Sleuth Open night last night here at the track, hosted by Aaron Noonan. If you're here next year, they'll definitely be doing that again.
Yeah,
it's certainly
will.
worth lashing out on a ticket. We got to hear from some greats of the past. Speaking of greats of the past, here's Eddie Dobbs. He's a great of the future. He's been running that ex-Graham Blanchard FE Holden for many, many years. That is a genuine race car too, like the O'Brien Falcon we were talking about. Brett, has always been a race car, originally built and raced by Graham Blanchard in the late 50s. And Dobbsy's been the custodian of that car, probably nudging 40 years, I would think. He was right there at the early days of Group N historic touring cars when it got going again in the early 80s.
Exactly, and I mean, you can see how many races it's done. Have a look at this, the rear driver's window, and the amount of scrutineering stickers on that car is unbelievable. And we've got, I think it's Chad Parrish in this, the Cat Ford, which is a striking livery, that one.
Certainly is the Gibson Motorsport BA Falcon. Shared the car with Glenn Seaton, of course.
So our plan...
FPR, I beg your pardon, not Gibson Motorsport, FPR, of course, Ford Performance Racing.
And our plan with this category moving forward will be that we'll have 5 litres and invited on their own, and then run the series production cars, Group N and odd Group C and A car all together. Just to, as I said earlier in the vision, that we're trying to get some more cars out of shed. So and the 5 litre cars, they're growing. There's more and more of those ending up in private hands, and they just want to have a go.
Also seeing some later models too, like this very
exactly.
Commodore we see on the screen here, owned and driven by Peter Zimmer's, very famous motor car, Brett.
Absolutely. This car, Jamie Whincup's it's the car that ran out of fuel with Paul Dumbrell at Bathurst, so it's most recognised for that. But Peter was saying it's the third most winningest chassis in the history of the category. So to have that, it's like I said, it's won all those races, but it's more famous for something that it failed at.
Yeah. Well, J-Dub certainly won plenty of races in his time behind the wheel, plenty of championships.
We've got Tabitha again in the A9X, and she's done a fantastic job all weekend. She's currently first in the touring car section of this category, which is it's a sprint / regularity. So she's the first person. It's her first race in a large car, and her first race in a historic car. So good on Tabitha. This is fantastic. So she's definitely showing the guys up.
Yeah, doing a great job. Hopefully we'll see her back at historic Sandown the second weekend of November.
Exactly. So, and we've got Eddie and Brett Yordan here, which is, I'm sure Brett's having a ball out there.
Yeah, the little TX3 Laser, turbocharged 4-wheel drive, based of course on Mazda componentry, with the model sharing back in the day, part of the Button plan to rationalise models available.
That's right, yeah.
We saw quite a bit of badge engineering, although that's got a fair bit of Ford in it, that Laser. But nevertheless, started off as a Mazda.
And a great shout out to Rebecca Drummond, who is the owner and was running the car earlier today, to entice Brett, one of the original drivers, into the car for this event today. And great shout out to Rebecca and her partner Dave Holt. So they both came together to get Brett out there, and that's why David's not out there with the HSV. He was assisting and ran out of time to get himself ready. But you know what? It's good to see Brett out there in the car.
Certainly is, and really throwing back, how many years is that? 34 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's quite a stint there for Brett to get behind the wheel.
So the person who's running first is Pete Zibris. So he's first in the the 5 litre cars, but and like I said, first in the touring cars is Tabitha at the moment in this.
Jake Currid next, Mark Winterbottom, Orcon Falcon, another one of the later generation of supercars. Great to have the BA here.
And closely followed by Andrew Cook in the better electrical car.
Next, Dean Canto machine. So we're seeing more and more of these type of cars returning to the circuit. Great to see them in their original race livery. Some of them had competition lives after the main game, and they were repainted, but it's great to see them back in their original liveries.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they all went on to something, different, whether it was Konica or Super 2 or whatever it might have been in their day, or sports at ends. But, these guys are equally as passionate as the the guys with the earlier cars returning them to their original liveries.
Definitely. So glad they got rid of that V8 Lights.
Yeah,
Series
absolutely.
name. It sounded like a packet of chips, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks to the marketing gurus in that one. Darren Knight passing judgment a decade or two on.
You betcha.
Absolutely. Have a look at this. Pete Zivris at 129.27. Head and shoulders, in fact, 3.6 seconds faster than anyone else out there. Guys, I've had to take a couple of minutes because that car that just went through the screen, I just had to wipe the tears away and just see Freddie Youlden getting on with a lap out there. Good to see an old mate putting the helmet on, even though it's a loan unit, and getting out there and doing some laps at a car that he had some pretty strong success with going back in the day.
Now, Darren, you don't be so modest. Now, you have actually shared a car with Freddie Youlden. Tell us a little bit of that.
Actually, no, not a car. Shared a team. It was a 24-hour race here when they used to run the 24-hour races, and he was in an RX-3 coupe. And I was in the RX-3 four-door, so we were part of, as it was in the day, the hat set on it, Team Pyack, and every car club had a Roca with the Alfa Romeos,
Yep.
The Holden Sporting Car Club had one. I loved it. The Holden Sporting Car Club won it for about 3 years in a row with not one Holden in it. They're all RX-7s.
Of course, of course.
And one year they roped in Gary McKay in the XU1, and I think Gary got about 12 laps, and they said, "That's enough now, mate. We need to win this thing. We got to pop the RX-7s out."
They were so loyal to the whole
Yeah,
product.
right. Yeah, that's right. But no, sorry, I might have alluded during the conversation earlier today. But yeah, great friendship with the Youlden family, and both Brett and the Bear, his older brother. They were excellent guys. If you needed some mentoring, if you needed some help, they would just come and have a chat with you, and it was just so cool. And it is interesting. We've had Brett on the podcast, the Grassroots Racing podcast, and just this last week we've recorded one with the only Youlden to win the Bathurst 1000 with Luke. So keep your eyes peeled on the Grassroots Racing podcast for the Luke Youlden podcast coming up. And of course, we're talking to some like-minded people this week that are running the Laybird sprints up in Queensland. So if you like this sort of event, have a listen to the Grassroots Racing podcast. Gratuitous plug over, Brett. Sorry about that.
That's
we'll
fine, mate. Yeah, well, we're right. I might plug in and have a listen to that.
Well worth it. So
exactly.
I can tell you, it's my podcast. It's got to be worth it. I'm a little bit sick of listening to my voice this weekend. It's been a lot of Darren Smith.
You love it. You've been taping it.
I have been taping it
on the breaks.
I'm going to listen to it all the way home tonight,
yeah.
mate. Yeah, exactly. I can edit you out and just listen to myself.
Yeah, thanks very much. Pete Zivris, the ex-Jamie Wynn Cup Commodore.
Fastest car on track in this sprint. And boy, oh boy, he's given it to it, isn't he? See the transfer of weight there? He's absolutely planted the boot. He's going to make a final lap statement here, Brett, I would say.
He's going for the last lap dash. He's trying to outdo Brock in the day at Bathurst.
Not fat arming it though, is he?
No, he's not.
He can't rest the arm on the elbow in a supercar.
Window nets and everything's preventing all of that. And Aaron Noonan mentioned last night the V8 Sleuth Open night with his interview with Peter Zivris, how wide his grin was after he got out of this car after yesterday's run. It just does everything so nicely. Complete contrast to the VK Group A car he has, which is a little bit more agricultural, of course.
Geez, I tell you what, the hundreds of thousands of dollars difference make a difference, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, he's ragging this. He's giving this an absolute last lap throwdown, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. And good on him. He's having some fun. So, yeah.
Check flag is poised and being given to the field here, and Pete is just running up to turn 11 and 12 to complete what has been a full-on commitment weekend for Pete. He's brought a few cars to the track and ultimately brings it home to get the checkered flag.
And a big thanks to Peter. He's been one of our sponsors this weekend with his Premier Hire business, and I can't thank him enough for the efforts that he's put in. He's brought a team of cars with him, and has also offered to sponsor the event. So
and
big
particularly
thank you.
right in the middle of his day job. So
yeah, exactly.
Ipswich Raceway next weekend, Queensland Raceway, the Premier Hire boys, they'll be at it. So he's going to get right back into work on Monday morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Tabitha Ambrose completes her weekend's commitments as well, and what an eye-opener for Tabitha. You've got to suggest, Brett, that you assisted this particular thing to happen here, and Of course, at the end of the weekend, what do but destroy a set of Dunlops on the back of your Caterpillar Falcon? But this is certainly something we're going to enjoy a journey with Tabitha in her career, I feel, over the next little while, and getting some horsepower under her right foot. Inevitably, she's going to end up in a TA2 or a Trans Am car at some description at some point.
And well done to Craig Bowering for inviting her to step behind the wheel of the A9X. Tabitha said she's never driven a car with such a big steering wheel.
Without power steering, you need that leverage, don't you? You need the big diameter wheel.
Yeah, and it was great that VHRR and Craig got together and Winton Raceway actually. Big thanks to Joel and Jeff and Mark with them. Tabitha's been doing some work with their stuff, so but it's been fantastic.
Pete Zipper's run out of petrol, guys.
Yeah, I think he has actually over there in the back.
He's not, has he?
The car may be famous twice for running out of fuel by the look of it.
Looks like a friendly
it's getting a
Caterpillar
push.
car's going to give him a nudge. Gee, that didn't happen in the day, did it? Everyone just watched Jamie and went, mate, seriously?
Yeah, later.
Yeah, later. Yeah, so Pete Zipper's crawling along there. And, the guy behind him's doing the right thing because you're not supposed to overtake on the warm-down lap, and the car stops. Brett Yulden's gone into the pit lane, and I guess we better thank Rebecca Drummond very much for allowing a good old mate of everyone's actually, of motorsport. The Yulden family are a friend of motorsport, to have a drive. And I'm going to say Brett will sleep very, very well. It's been a while since he's had a go in a car. Of course, famously in that beautiful green HQ. No, he's got it going again. So Pete Zivers playing true to the heritage of that car has given us all a bit of a surprise.
Good on him.
Absolutely. Playing it up. I like it. But that has been the Touring Car Legends and V8 Touring Car Sprint final run for the weekend. We've got another sprint on track in just a couple of moments. Historic sports sedans, guys. The big bangers, the gods of thunder, will churn around here at the Winter Motor Raceway in just a couple of moments. Brett, thank you very much. Dazza, as always, great working with you. Great to have a true pro come along to an event like this and give us all your knowledge and build that drama right across the weekend.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate that.
Nice.
I think Crompo's making his way in.
Yeah. Nice move under brakes there, Brett. Well done. Don't forget, folks, the Equity One Historic Sandown in November. The next big historic meeting in Victoria. That will be a fantastic couple of days.